everybody, welcome back here. Now, okay, I know what you're wondering. You're wondering about the emo in the title. Okay, I will get to it. I promise I will explain why that's there. But let me get into this review for the Batman, which I went and I finally got to see yesterday. So I want to give my review for this film. And without any further ado, let's get into this. Now, first off, I must say this film was delivered beautifully. It sets up a very dark noir type atmosphere, and the film delivers that really well. The cinematography, the visual style, the colors, everything sets the mood really well for this film. And the fact that it starts off with Batman narrating as he's speaking about the city and what it is, it draws you in and lets you really experience what it is you're going to watch. It really does. Now, I'm going to be honest. I had reservations about Robert Pattinson playing Bruce Wayne / Batman, because I mean the biggest thing I knew him from before this was really Twilight. I mean, he's a good actor, but I had reservations about him. However, I must say he nailed that Batman voice. He did it spectacularly. It sounded exactly the way you would picture a young Batman, not completely grizzled yet, but he's there, he's engaging himself in the dark underworld of it. His vocal use and thing was really good. He didn't have to, do the whole grainy thing. It sounded natural, so I have to give that to him early on. Really did have to give that to him. Now, I want to say, for the bat suit, however, I didn't hate it, but I didn't 100% love it. I find it looked a little simplistic, and it could have used a more of an update sort of look to it. Even his cape, it wasn't shaped like a bat, it was just a cape. Now, don't get me wrong, the suit was okay because it was armored. So, all right, let's stop right there and say there are going to be some spoilers, going ahead, but nothing too much to not make you want to see it if you haven't seen it yet. Just enough to get you interested. All right. So, yeah, the suit is armored. So it's there, but it could have used a bit of updating. It looked a little too simplistic for me, but it's not a bad thing considering that it's been 2 years he's been doing this whole 2 years Bruce Wayne has been Batman. They don't waste time on a build. They let you into this film. So we pick up 2 years he's been Batman now, and I think the suit could have used a little bit of updating. Now there are a lot of positives for me in this movie, but there are also a few slight negatives. I think the idea for the movie was really good, but the execution was lacking in certain places. One of those, as I mentioned, was the suit could have used a little more updating, but I understand what they were going for with it. Now, another thing that kind of needed some work is that Batman does a lot of walking in this movie. I mean, if he had to get in his annual cardio, he really got it in for this movie. Now, it works in certain areas, but Batman is supposed to be stealthy. He's supposed to appear and disappear. He's supposed to be the shadow, that sort of thing about it. I mean, the first time that we see Batman for the movie is when this group of painted white-faced looking punks was about to beat up this man, and he comes walking out of the shadows. Now they set up the whole thing where people are afraid of the shadows because they never know if he's lurking there or anything and that, okay. But he comes walking out of the shadows, which I think might have gone over better had it been like, they heard a song or something, they look around, they didn't see anything, and then suddenly the light goes off for a second, when it comes back on, he's standing there in the middle of them. That will really put the fear of God in them and make them want to shit their pants. That is the kind of thing you're going for. I mean, throughout the movie, he's always walking into crime scenes and walking into places when he should have just really more appeared. You know, he has to give that whole ninja Dark Knight feel thing about him. Right? I mean, Batman has always been the James Bond / ninja of crime fighting. So that needed some work also. Now, let me see. I think I will deal with the characters first, and then I'll get into it. Zoë Kravitz as Selina Kyle was a really good choice. She is beautiful, she is stylish, she's sexy. She delivers the character in the way you would expect. However, I think that they needed more build-up to her being a cat burglar. It should have played out a little more along the lines of her being more of a cat burglar, being more, you know, into the whole criminal scene thing. I mean, they took a lot of elements from this movie, from like Batman Year One and Long Halloween. So I could understand the way that they went with her character. It's just that they could have had her been more of a cat burglar. But apart from that, I really can't complain about her in this movie. She was done very well. Another character I will say I really like Jeffrey Wright as James Gordon. I know, I have said it before on my channel about race swapping characters, and yes, James Gordon is supposed to be a white man. We know that it's established supposed to be a white man, no problem. But when a character is portrayed well, depending on the movie, I will overlook it. And I must say, Jeffrey Wright's performance as James Gordon in this movie was spectacular. He was Batman's partner in this movie. They were working together to solve crime. He trusted him. You saw that bond. He did this character well. This is the kind of James Gordon you've always wanted to see. Not just go and turn on the bat signal and then, in this movie he's a lieutenant and he's working the crime scene, and no more just turn on the bat signal and leave it to him. No, he's there with him. He's his partner. They're working together to do what has to be done, and that went spectacularly, absolutely spectacularly. A good hero will make or break any movie, but a great villain will hold the movie up. And most of the times, if you don't have a good villain, the movie will fall flat. Now, one of the cool things about Batman's rogues gallery and all the villains he faces is that each one of them teaches him something. He grows from them, he learns from them. Now, Joker may be the most famous of Batman's enemies because, well, let's face it, he's a psychopath, and Batman has to learn how to deal with that madness in order to stop him. But a character that has always been underlooked, and recently in media and things, they try to downplay his importance, making him more like a C-list character. But in my view, and most people will know this, the character that really made Batman the detective that he is the Riddler. And in this movie, you got a Riddler you could be damn well proud of. This movie, what sets it apart from any other Batman movie is that in this one, Batman has to be a detective. This is something that has been lacking in practically like all Batman movies. But in this one, he has to be a detective. And no criminal could have done it better than the Riddler to really push that. He leaves, it's not like he just leaves clues to crimes that he's going to do and everything. He is leaving clues to a much bigger conspiracy, and Batman has to go through each step of it to find out what is going on. And each time that he finds out something, the Riddler has another clue, has another riddle, has another this, and he is determined to play this game with Batman. And Batman has to come to understand what these clues mean, what these things are about, and how all of this ties in to his own family, and how this ties into what it does to the entirety of the Waynes as a whole. But Riddler was spectacular in this movie. He used ciphers, he used clues, he was, well, okay, let's be honest, he was a deranged serial killer, but he played his role perfectly. And one of the things about it also is that because of Riddler, you got a more world-building view of Gotham on the whole, which is corrupt as all hell. And he seeked to showcase that. And you got to see how all of this ties in and what he has in store for everything. And the real clincher is that even down to the very end, Batman didn't figure out what Riddler's biggest riddle was until it was too late. And also, Riddler didn't figure out the riddle about Batman that was literally staring him in the face. He put together all the clues, but he didn't figure out the one thing that was staring him in the face. And it played off well for both characters. This, as I said, you need a good hero, you also need a good villain. And both of them complemented each other very well in this movie. Now, the Batmobile had no wow factor for me. It really had no wow factor. Apart from like a big jet engine to the back, I find it was just pretty much a normal car, which again is another issue I had. I think there are certain things about Batman that kind of supposed to be there, and the Batmobile supposed to really... There are certain things when it comes to the Batmobile that must be respected. I mean, now, the Batmobile normally garners three major, responses or feelings, expressions when it's seen. One is, holy crap, what the hell is that? The second one is, that is so friggin' cool. And the third one is, I would literally sell my soul to get that car. If that doesn't happen, it's a little lacking. It's a little lacking if that doesn't happen. But it's not necessarily a bad thing, because like this movie, the same thing with this movie is that the Batmobile has an option to evolve, because it's still an early movie, so there's a lot of opportunities for the story and everything to evolve. Now, a lot of people were saying online that, I don't pay attention to such nonsense, but I just wanted to say that people say that not smiling enough and not smiling enough, all that kind of thing, but, Batman doesn't smile. That's the thing about it. However, Bruce Wayne needs to be the mask for Batman. It's never the other way around, right? And Bruce Wayne must project a sort of image outside to conceal what he does as the Batman. But in this movie, you weren't getting that. In this movie, Bruce Wayne didn't really care. He wasn't interested. He was basically came off as emo. A little emo, as he came off as. And it translated over into some aspects of Batman. Not enough to like, but it did translate over to that. So when you don't have a Bruce Wayne that is being the mask for Batman, it feels a little like the story is not fully developed like that. Speaking of fully developed, there were same characters also. I mean, Alfred sort of got that treatment too, because Alfred is a major part of Batman and Bruce Wayne. He didn't get as much screen time as should have been, but Andy Serkis' portrayal of Alfred was really good. I liked it. And the fact that when you did see Bruce Wayne, everything was just as dark and gloomy as when he is Batman, it kind of makes you wonder why people didn't put two and two together faster. But again, it's the little things that gets it. I will say though, what was good is that this movie had no drag time. Normally these things have to take a time to get this. No, it paced itself well, and it didn't have any drama. The story was developed properly. Everything got to where it has to go. The characters were really good. Speaking of characters, I must again touch on Colin Farrell as Penguin. I mean, no exploding wind-up penguins in this movie. He's a gangster. You can see that. He's a gangster. He's got the scars to prove it. And his design, his makeup, and his characterism really good for the movie. Like I said, the characters fit the movie. Now, you had John Turturro as Carmine Falcone. I mean, it was okay, but I didn't really see him as a crime boss sort of thing. But his portrayal was good otherwise, so I wouldn't dwell too much on it. Now, the action sequences and fight scenes were done extremely well, but they were, should I say, they needed a little more finessing at certain points, but it was humanistic and understandable, so you could look at it and see to yourself, okay, this makes sense. But it was done really well. Like I said, room to grow, but overall, really done excellently. Now, there are some, the social media use in this story was really good. It wasn't shoved in your face. It was just used to build on what the Riddler was doing, which is really how it's supposed to be. It shouldn't be the most invoking thing about it. It must just be there to add to the story. That's what has to happen with it. The one aspect that Batman spoke about that I think at the end of the movie came to understand is that he was wondering if he really made a difference, if he's really making a difference doing this. And I think that, if you're going to indulge me for a moment, that is sort of the difference between Batman and Superman, just like how the difference is between Gotham and Metropolis. Let's face it, Gotham is a shithole. It's interesting because it's a shithole, but still a shithole. Superman, unlike Batman, isn't about fear and these things. It's about inspiring hope and having you rise to that, which is more why Metropolis, like him, is always bright and sunny, and Batman is really the opposite. But in order to do this, he realized that he has to make a difference and be sort of a guiding light to the people. Overall, I must say, this movie, despite some hiccups here and there, was delivered very well. The pacing was done excellently. The story was fantastic. Seeing Batman actually have to be a detective was really, really refreshing to see on the big screen. I have to say Robert Pattinson did a really excellent job. I was worried, but I give credits to him. And Matt Reeves directed a great movie. And seeing as there are 2 other sequels planned, if he uses this model, and like with each criminal that he introduces, models the movie and the way Batman has to deal with it to fit that criminal, the movies will be spectacular. This one, despite some hiccups, I think was delivered extremely well. So, final rating on this one, 3.9 out of 5. I highly, highly recommend that you check out The Batman. I think it's going to be a really big film for 2022. It is more than worth watching. It is excellently done, I will say that. Well, that is my review for The Batman. When you get a chance, check it out in cinema. If you've seen it already, go and see it again. If you have the time, it's a really great movie. And I will see you all in the next video. If you like the video, be sure to like, subscribe, ring notification bell so you'll be notified every time I put out a new video. Let me know in the comments what you think, if you've seen the movie already, if you planning to go and see it. If you want to see it again, sure, let me know. And I'll see you all next time. Take care.